about the arms embargo. Mr. President, can you explain why you believe it is important that the arms embargo is lifted? And Foreign Secretary, can you explain why the international community is so reluctant to do it? Secondly, Foreign Secretary, can I ask you about the humanitarian need? The United Nations says there is a shortfall of $900,000. What more is the British government going to do to try and meet that need? And Secretary General, can I ask you about the army and the police force, which you mentioned? I have covered many conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I have been repeatedly told about the importance of training up the national army and the police force. And, you know, with respect, it is a slow, patchy, gradual process at best. How can we be confident that it's going to happen in time?
Let me take that first question. Well, it's a very valid question. The reality is Al-Shabaab has been active in Somalia for the last 10 years. And the reason we are still looking for to rebuild or to reorganize our army is because of lack of equipment and weapons. Al-Shabaab has AK-47 and the Somali National Forces has the same equipment, the same weapons. And that's why this war has been lingering for 10 years. And if we don't have more sophisticated and better weaponry, definitely this war will continue for another 10 years. That's why we would basically like to see the arms embargo to be lifted. And of course, that's why we need the international community to help us in rebuilding Somali National Army. And that's why we wanted to face the challenge of Al-Shabaab, because they are here in Somalia, they are in Somalia simply to destroy and deny the opportunity, the government to function. And that's not acceptable. Somalia needs, after 27 years, stable and peaceful country where the economic development grows and be part of the international community. So that's why we want to see the arms embargo to be lifted. But we are not asking now that arms embargo to be lifted today, but we are requiring to have a roadmap and milestone to see that maybe next year, maybe in 8 months, after we meet all the requirements, that arms embargo to be lifted.
Well, can I just say I agree very strongly with President Formaggio that this is not the time to lift the arms embargo, and that we shouldn't be thinking of doing it that way round. And the priority has got to be, as he rightly says, to get the Somali forces, to help the Somali forces to get to a condition working with the regional authorities where they are able to take on Al-Shabaab, and where AMISOM is finally able to discharge its obligations, which it has so heroically and bravely conducted over the last 10 years. And so that is what we are trying to achieve. And you ask about further commitments by HMG. You're absolutely right that there is on the humanitarian front there is a shortfall of perhaps of 800 million, and we've urged all donors to step forward. But one of the things that we are prioritizing is that effort of helping to train the Somali military, to get them ready to coordinate their forces, and we've today announced a further £21 million from the UK government to that end.
Well, in relation to your question, I think that what we have witnessed until now in Somalia is an effort by different countries, training different groups in different parts of the country with different doctrines. And that is a recipe for disaster. It's not a recipe to form a true national army and a true national police force. And what I think is important in this conference is the recognition that there must be a coordinated effort in which training takes place in close articulation with the strategy of the government and the government plan in order to build one army with one doctrine and with the links and the forms of cohesion that an army needs to have in order to be able to fight with success any insurgency or any terrorist group. Now, that takes time, it is true. And that is why we believe it is necessary, in between, to go on supporting AMISOM, but not only with the business as usual approach. In a more effective and predictable way. So the two things go together. At the same time, support AMISOM until conditions are met for AMISOM to go down places that will not lead to the creation of the institutions the country needs.
Now, let's get you, sir, in the back row.
Thank you. Thank you. This question is coming from, I'm from Kalson TV, Somali TV, and here in London, broadcasts in Somalia and East Africa as well. This question is coming from one of your constituents in Hillingdon, Mr. Secretary. It's about whether you can comment on the policy of the British government towards Somaliland, and whether you are pressuring both sides of Somaliland and Somalia to revive the talks.
The simple answer is yes, we certainly are, and we want to see as broad a possible reconciliation within the whole territory of Somalia, and certainly a reconciliation between Somaliland and Somalia. And I think what was, just to go back to the central message, what was so exciting about today was the willingness of the member states of Somalia to sit down and give this very convincing and deeply felt display of unity. Because I think genuinely people feel that they've come to an end of wanting to work in this separate way. And as Antonio Guterres just said, unless you have a unity, you are never going to be able to take on al-Shabaab in the way that is necessary. And that unity in Somalia demands a corresponding unity in us, the donors and the supporters. We have to, as Antonio says, we have to work out ways in which we can be more cohesive in the support and indeed in the training that we give. We can do one final question to use that. And then.
Thank you. Question for President Farmajo. My name is Conor Gaffey from Newsweek. Just wanted to ask about how important you see the role of the United States in helping fight al-Shabaab. We've seen recently President Trump give expanded powers to the US forces in Somalia to carry out strikes there. And we've also seen a US Navy SEAL be killed by al-Shabaab, the first casualty in over 20 years there. Just want to know about your thoughts on their role.
Well, I had a bilateral meeting with the Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, today, and we spoke about how the United States can be very helpful to eradicate and to fight against al-Shabaab, and he's very committed. The United States really committed to help to stand its own feet, and I believe that's why we have this great opportunity, and to seize this opportunity. So the world are behind Somalia right now. It's a different time, and it's a historic day, and definitely we'll take advantage of that.
Thank you so much, President Ford. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming along today. See you soon, and see you in Mogadishu, I hope. Thank you.